Let's review the tools and supplies you will need. Campbell Hausfeld crown molding kit. Extra fasteners. Dual bevel compound miter saw. Ladder. Tape measure. Pencil. Wood putty. Paintable caulk. Scratch paper. Masking tape. Stud finder. Crown molding. Should be US standard 52 degree by 38 degree crown molding. We suggest purchasing extra to make sure you have enough. 360 degree protractor angle finder. Only necessary if you suspect that you do not have 90 degree walls. Finishing materials. Sanding block, paint, stain. Note, you may need a friend to help, depending on the size of your room. Now we're going to walk through some planning steps. A bit of preparation can really help your project go smoothly. For example, it helps to draw out your room, labeling each corner. Label corner 1 with C1 and corner 2 with C2 and so on around your room. Next, label your inside and outside corners. IL is short for inside left. IR is short for inside right. OL is short for outside left. OR is short for outside right. You can also take note of the measurements of each wall. Taking accurate wall measurements will ensure you purchase the right amount of molding for your project. Remember, you will want to purchase more material than you need for practice cuts and butt joints. You always measure twice and cut once. Along with preparation goes safety. Always follow, read, and understand the manuals and safety procedures of the tools you are going to use. Always wear safety equipment. If setting up a cut feels awkward and unsafe, it probably is. Stop what you are doing. Reset the cut. It is better to be safe than sorry. Next, let's talk about the cuts you will be making for your crown molding. In our room, our corners are very close to having 90-degree corners. We will fill any gaps with putty and caulk as a final step. If your walls are not close to 90 degrees, we suggest using a 360-degree protractor angle finder to determine your angles. Crown molding involves making a 31.6-degree miter cut and a 33.9-degree bevel cut for two types of corners, inside corners and outside corners. We recommend labeling your saw in order to make it easier to remember these corners and angles. First, label the left and right side of your saw with an L and R. Then label the miter adjustment on your saw with an M. This controls the miter setting of your saw. You also want to label the bevel adjustment on your saw with a B. This controls the bevel setting on your saw. We will refer to these labels as we go through each cut. Now that we have labeled the saw, it is time to review the miter and bevel setting chart. Understanding this chart and knowing how to use it is necessary for setting your miter saw correctly for each cut. Now let's do some practice cuts. It helps to make practice cuts for all your corners and label them. This step will also let you know how far from 90 degrees your walls are. For an inside left corner, refer to the first row in the chart. It shows that you need to set the miter adjustment to 31.6 degrees towards the right label on the saw and the bevel adjustment 33.9 degrees towards the left label on the saw. You also know from the chart that you need to place the wood you are keeping with the sealing edge against the fence on the left side of the saw. Next, precisely align the saw blade so that the blade is just right of your measured mark. Note, if you do not align your blade correctly to your measured line, your board will be off the width of your blade, which is about 1/8 of an inch. This seems like a small step, but that small amount adds up quickly and creates unsightly gaps in your joints. If this is the first time you have used a miter saw, or if you have not used a miter saw in a while, you will want to practice your accuracy of aligning your measured mark with the saw blade. Once your saw blade is correctly aligned to your mark, make your cut and label your piece IL. Continue with an inside right corner. Referring to the chart and the labels on your saw, set your miter this time to 31.6 degrees to the left, your bevel 33.9 degrees to the right, and place the wood you are keeping on the right side of the saw. This time, when aligning your saw blade, you will align it just left of your measured mark. Make your cut and mark your piece with an IR. You have just made two left and right inside practice corner pieces. These two halves will make your inside corner. Take a moment and see how well you did and fit them together in a corner. If your walls are close to 90 degrees and you made the pieces correctly, they tightly align in an inside corner. For an outside left corner, you want to set the miter at 31.6 degrees to the left and the bevel to 33.9 degrees to the right. Place the wood on the left side of the saw. When aligning your saw blade for an outside left corner, you want to line up your blade just to the right of your mark. Make your cut and mark your piece OL. Now finish up with an outside right corner. Set your miter to 31.6 degrees to the right and the bevel to 33.9 degrees to the left. Place the wood on the right side of the saw. Align your saw blade just to the left of your mark. Make your cut and mark your piece with an OR. Now you have two outside corner pieces. Take a moment and see how well you did. Fit them together in a corner. If made correctly, they align on an outside corner. The other type of angle cut you may have to make is a butt joint. When a piece of molding is not long enough to run the whole length of a wall, you will need to splice two pieces of molding together. This is referred to as a butt joint. A butt joint consists of butting two 22.5 degree angle cuts together to form a seamless run of molding. You want to plan ahead and splice your butt joints together so they meet along a stud. Refer to the chart for specific right and left joint cuts. Now that you have your practice cuts completed, it's time to measure and mark. Using a stud finder, create a mark above your line where every stud is located. Studs typically are 16 inches apart on center. Next, you want to measure your first wall and mark your board in preparation for making cuts. Now you are ready to cut your first board. Follow the method you used with your practice cuts. Use the labels on your saw, refer to the chart to select your miter and bevel settings and the proper placement of your wood in the saw. Take time to correctly align your saw blade for the perfect cut. Now you are ready to fasten your board. Fit this first piece of molding to its proper place on the wall, aligning it tightly in the corners and flush to the ceiling and to the wall. Use your nailer to secure the first nail. Keep the board flush to ceiling and to the wall. Continue to fasten the board to the wall at every stud. Continue measuring, cutting, and fastening until you have come full circle in your room. If you have walls that are especially long and cannot be completely fitted with a single length of molding, on a stud, join two pieces together with a 22.5 degree angle as shown. This will prevent gapping from occurring. Use wood putty and caulk to fill nail holes, gaps, and seams along the walls and ceilings. As a final step, you will want to sand anywhere you have used wood putty and finish your molding to fit your decor, either with touch-up painting or staining. There you have it. Beautiful crown molding like a designer room in your home. Thank you for purchasing a Campbell Hausfeld kit. Visit our website, chpower.com, for additional information and for more project ideas.